Hey everybody, how's it going? Aaron Rift here from NoDQ.com. Welcome to NoDQ&A video. The go-home edition of Monday Night Raw for WrestleMania just wrapped up. Got your questions from twitter.com/AaronRift regarding WrestleMania. And I will have more of my thoughts on WrestleMania later this week with Jeff Meacham as we give our predictions for WrestleMania 32. Let's get down to your questions now. A lot to talk about. First question from NoDQ&A fan, and he has as his profile picture Jeff Meacham. Yo Aaron, was it just me or was the final Raw before WrestleMania garbage and boring? What happened to the old WWE that made you care about WrestleMania? Now that we have seen all of the episodes of Raw before WrestleMania, I will go on record and say that the build-up for this year's WrestleMania, my rating for it, to quote the great Bret the Hitman Hart, 4 out of 10. I thought this week's Raw was okay. I did like the opening segment. I actually thought the opening segment was really good with Undertaker and Shane McMahon, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. I was baffled by the final segment though. We had not one but two Triple H and Stephanie promos, and I was figuring when they came out for the second time, okay, something big has to happen here. Maybe The Rock comes out, or at the very least, John Cena comes out. Somebody comes out to sell people on the Reigns versus Triple H match. But instead, they did a pull-apart brawl with the locker room coming out trying to separate the guys, and Roman Reigns doing a big dive over the top rope onto all the wrestlers. This was the same exact angle WWE did 2 decades ago at Ground Zero when The Undertaker did the big dive on top of Shawn Michaels and Triple H and all the other mid-carders in WWE. So, it wasn't exactly original, although it's been 20 years, so whatever. I just felt whatever needed to be done to get people excited for Reigns versus Triple H was not done on this show. So on that note, that part of Raw was a failure, but I do feel a little bit more excited for Undertaker and Shane. Let's move on here. This one comes from Callum Owen. What crazy spots do you see happening in the Hell in the Cell match? Please answer in video. This was the one downside to that Undertaker and Shane segment. What WWE did to get people hyped for this match was they did this angle where Shane McMahon laid out Undertaker on the table, went to the top rope, and did his flying elbow. A spot you might expect to see at WrestleMania. They did this here on Raw. So now fans are going to be expecting more. They are going to want to see something spectacular in the Hell in the Cell match. Will this lead to Shane McMahon jumping off the top of the cell or being thrown off the top of the cell? I would be surprised if that happens, but I will say this. If Shane McMahon is thrown off the top of the cell, or he jumps off the top of the cell, and when I mean off the top, his feet need to be on the roof, going off of the roof of the cell. If this happens at WrestleMania, I will shave off the beard. Add that to the stipulations. Other stipulations include Triple H retaining the WWE title against Reigns, Cena, or Dean Ambrose turning heel, Kurt Angle making his return to WWE at WrestleMania. Those are some of the stipulations. If one of those things happens at WrestleMania, I will shave off the beard. And also MR commentating on the entire show. You can add that one as well. So will we see a crazy spot? I'm assuming we will, but I'm not sure about something off the roof of the cell. That might be a little too insane for Shane McMahon at this stage of the game. But we'll see what happens. Anything can happen in WWE, right? Alright, this next one comes from Scotty R. Has WWE got a plan for Reigns at WrestleMania, or are WWE just being stubborn, sticking with a long-term plan to make him the face? My guess is they are just going to stick to their guns with Roman Reigns being the top guy in the company. There was no sign on Raw that Roman Reigns is going to turn heel. If anything, I'm under the belief that as of today, Monday Night Raw, WWE still wants Roman Reigns to be the top babyface. I've heard reports that they turned down the crowd volume when Reigns came out and got booed by the Brooklyn fans. Which, by the way, the Brooklyn fans, they were something else tonight. They booed Roman Reigns. They booed Eva Marie very heavily, and that's the one way you could get Roman Reigns over as a babyface. Have him come out and spear Eva Marie at WrestleMania. But anyways, that Brooklyn crowd, I mean, they were chanting for Byron Saxton during that six-man match that had Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens in it. That surprised me. But anyways, back to your question here. I think the plan is to have Reigns win the title at WrestleMania and be cemented as the new John Cena. I mean, that is my guess. I hope they do something else, and I'll get to that in a few minutes here. This one comes from Aditya. Hey Aaron, now with the high stakes in Shane McMahon versus Undertaker, are you seeing that it is going to close WrestleMania? Please answer in video. Here's my take on this, and I'll get Jeff's take when we do the predictions. If Roman Reigns is going to win the WWE title as a babyface and be the babyface star of the company, that match should not go on last. It should be Undertaker and Shane. And especially if Shane is going to take some kind of huge bump. But all this depends on what storyline WWE does with these matches. But if Reigns is going to win clean and become WWE champion as a babyface, that match should not go on last. That's my take on it. And I got this question here from Jay Ford. What is the likelihood of Shane realigning himself with Vince at WrestleMania in order to bring an end to The Undertaker? I would like to see this happen. Do I think it will happen? Probably not. But what I would like to see happen is you have the Hell in a Cell match, you have Vince come out, and he accidentally costs Undertaker the match, and Shane wins because of Vince. And we all think it was an accident. But then later on the show, we find out it's not an accident. And let me get to that right now. Got this question here from Empire of WWE. Do you think Reigns turning heel will prevent the show ending on a bad note? And who should be his first opponent as a heel? Please answer in video. I think that what happened in the Hell in a Cell match should be Vince coming out and accidentally screwing The Undertaker. At least that's what we're led to believe. And then in the main event, you have Shane McMahon come out, and you think he's going to screw Triple H because he doesn't want the world champion being on his show. You have Shane McMahon come out, and then you have Vince come out, and you think Vince is going to help Triple H, but then Vince turns on Triple H, and Roman Reigns wins the title. And at that point, you have Shane, Vince, and Roman Reigns in the ring together, and they embrace. Similar to The Rock and Vince and Shane at the 1998 Survivor Series. And you have Vince running the company with Shane as the heels and Roman Reigns as their champion. And you play up on real life. Vince comes out on Raw. He introduces Roman Reigns. He calls Roman Reigns his champion, a guy who's tall, muscular, handsome, and all that stuff. You know, the way fans feel about Vince right now. He goes out there and he praises Roman Reigns, and he says that Triple H will not be fired. Triple H can have NXT because that is all that he deserves. And then Vince can say, that's because NXT sucks. And imagine the crowd reaction if Vince said NXT sucks. With that crowd, that post-WrestleMania crowd, that would just generate so much heel heat. It would be unbelievable. Just take how fans feel in real life and make it the storyline. WWE used to do this so well years ago. And I think that's the one thing that's really missing. Taking advantage of how the fans feel and using it to boost your business and make money from it. That is what Vince has been doing for years. He would take real life heat and turn it into storyline heat and make tons of money doing it. So, in my opinion, it would not be a risk to turn Roman Reigns because this would be a hot angle and this would get people invested in watching the show. And WWE is going to continue to do solid business one way or another. So, you know, it's not gonna damage the product. If anything, it'll help the product. It'll get more people watching. That is what I think. And then you can have Roman Reigns come out, and some people might say, well, you know, Reigns will get cheered now because once he turns heel, the fans want to cheer him. But all Reigns has to do is come out there and call the fans a bunch of virgins, basement dwellers. Talk about how they all pay money to see him, and then they go home with the love of their life, their 5 fingers. That's all he has to say to get the heat from the fans. And just let him vent. Let him say what he's been wanting to say to these fans for the longest time. Little hints that we've seen in interviews with him and little comments he's made on Twitter. Let him just go all out and just speak his mind. That is what I think they should do. And then set up a feud between Vince Vince's group and Triple H's group in NXT, and you can even bring in the Balor Club, and you can do all sorts of different things and have a real invasion and kind of do like a modern day Millionaires Club and New Blood storyline, only you don't screw it up, you do it right. And as far as Reigns, his first opponent, if he's a heel, if WWE went with my plan here, Reigns would go against The Undertaker, because Undertaker got screwed at WrestleMania. It will be revealed that Vince and Shane were working in cahoots all along, and that will piss off The Undertaker, and he's banned from WrestleMania, but he can still compete at the other events. So Undertaker comes out at the end of the post-WrestleMania Raw, and he confronts Roman Reigns, and you set up a match at Payback. And you have Roman Reigns win that, and that cements him as the top heel in the company by beating one of the all-time legends, and possibly they could even do a retirement angle with The Undertaker at that show, and Reigns can take credit for ending the career of one of the most beloved figures in WWE history. What better way to make him a good heel than to have him end The Undertaker once and for all, the guy that everybody loves and respects. So that is what I would do. Now, as far as realistically who his first opponent should be, I mean, I think it should be Ambrose, but my guess is it's going to be someone from the League of Nations or Bray Wyatt or some crap like that. Anyways, let's move on here. This one comes from Ghost Bookseller. Thoughts on the Roman Reigns interview about WWE being a kid's show? Roman Reigns did an interview and he said that the fans that boo him, they do not represent the core audience, and all the stuff that you expect to hear from the PR people in WWE and the PR guy, whether it's Cena or Reigns. You know, Reigns talking about how, you know, WWE is a PG product and they cater to women and children, and that's their audience, whatever. You know, it's all PR stuff. It's just Roman Reigns saying what he's told to say in these interviews. When he's asked about how the fans are reacting to him, you know, he has to say that, you know, he's embarrassed by how fans flip him off when there's children in the audience. Clearly, Reigns hasn't been watching WWE lately, because Vince dropped the F-bomb a few weeks ago. They said bitch many times on Raw over the past few weeks. They had Terry Funk give a chainsaw to Dean Ambrose to use on Brock Lesnar. I mean, come on now. Yes, WWE is geared to kids, but at the same time, it's a violent show, and there are a lot of adults that watch it. So, you know, it is what it is. It's just Roman Reigns given the typical PR response. All right, this one comes from RPA. WWE doesn't even care about the credibility of storylines. Lana and Summer in the same side. WTF? Your thoughts? I think WWE's attitude is, if it happened 6 months ago, nobody's going to remember it now. I mean, that's really how they book. They don't really think about things that they did 6 months ago. I mean, they're just focused on coming up with something now. They needed to come up with something for WrestleMania, and they set up this 10 Diva match for WrestleMania. Whole thing is lame. You got Eva Marie back in the mix. I mean, the whole thing is just a joke anyway, so I try not to get offended by it, and honestly, you shouldn't either. I mean, it's not really worth getting upset over. I mean, it's just filler, so the women get a spot on the WrestleMania card, as many as possible. Alright, this one comes from Kyle on YouTube. Hey Aaron, do you think that there are too many Hall of Fame inductees per year? I think there should be a limit of 5 per year. Please answer in video. I would say yes, because WWE will just tend to burn through all their potential headliners, but the fact is WWE inducts a bunch of random people into the Hall of Fame every year, so theoretically they could do 7 or 8 inductees every year from now until the end of time, because they can induct anybody. They can induct Snoop Dogg. They can induct just about anybody who is on good terms with the company and had a fairly decent run in the company, or in any company for that matter. I mean, there is no real criteria for the Hall of Fame. Alright, this one comes from KZX Productions. Who the hell is Fifth Harmony and why are they performing at WrestleMania? The band name sounds like another hipster's band. Well, you could have done what I did, and that's go on Google and search Fifth Harmony. Apparently they were on the X Factor and they won it. Why are they doing WrestleMania? Here's the thing, what they do. WWE they have their PR department contact the agents of various talents, and whoever calls them back and is interested in the offer, they normally get the spot for WrestleMania. I mean, this is how WWE has done things for years, like with the guest hosts. They would just contact the representatives of as many celebrities as possible and hope that somebody calls back and is interested in doing the gig. So I think that Fifth Harmony, the agent, called them back and said, yeah, we'll do WrestleMania. How much? And then it goes from there. All right, this one comes from Mr. Nemchek. A little positivity. What was your biggest mark-out moment in WrestleMania history? Mine was the Tombstone kick-out at WrestleMania 25. Please answer in video. I would have to say, from a personal standpoint, me, as a fan, I would say Hogan and The Rock at WrestleMania 18 when Hogan made his big comeback, because that brought me right back to my childhood. You know, I grew up with late 80s, early 90s WWF with Hulk Hogan on top. So for him to come back and get that reaction from the fans, I mean, how could you not have goosebumps for that? If you grew up on Hulk Hogan, I mean, obviously if you didn't, it wasn't as big of a deal, but if you grew up on Hulk Hogan, I mean, that was just an incredible moment to see him get that reaction and see Hulkamania live one more time at WrestleMania. To me, that was my all-time personal favorite mark-out moment, if that's what you want to call it. Alright, this one comes from NoDQ&AV fan again. Hey Aaron, why is the New Day inducting the Freebirds into the Hall of Fame instead of the Von Erichs? Makes no sense, but that's WWE. Please answer in video. Well, I've heard different stories. I've heard one story that Michael Hayes likes the New Day and he's okay with it. I've heard another story that WWE just wanted to do it because the New Day is a 3-person team and they do the Freebird rule. Who knows exactly? I mean, I think most people wanted Kevin, the Von Erich, to be the one to induct the Freebirds. The Von Erichs and the Freebirds were rivals for many years. I think it would have been better to go with Kevin, but I can understand WWE's mindset. The New Day will come out, they'll be entertaining, they'll do their shtick at the Hall of Fame, and you know, it'll be maybe a little bit more entertaining to the casual fans than Kevin would be. But, you know, it is what it is. Once again, I try not to get too upset about what WWE does at this point. I mean, it really, they do whatever they want. And we're all going to keep watching, at least some of us are, regardless of what they do. So, at the end of the day, I try to get bothered by the fewest amount of things that WWE does as possible, because if I just get mad about every single thing and nitpick, you know, I will just drive myself completely insane. Alright, this one comes from Sean T. Flick. For Rock's role at Mania, what do you think of him helping the New Day even the odds against the League of Nations? That is what I see being the most likely scenario at this point. I mean, if The Rock was going to guest referee Reigns versus Triple H, they would have announced it. The Rock is coming in basically as a surprise, so I'm not expecting him to do something all that significant. You know, I think he'll come out and maybe help the New Day and do the dance with the New Day and put them over, and that'll be it. I'm not expecting him to do anything real significant, like interfere in one of the big matches. I mean, I guess he could interfere in the Reigns-Triple H match and help Reigns win the title, but after the Royal Rumble last year, I'm not sure if The Rock wants to go there at this point. Alright, this one comes from Chris Manley, 2016. Hey Aaron, what if Triple H and Steph are fired after WrestleMania but return with an army of NXT stars to try and take down Shane? That is what I think should happen, with Shane being a heel aligned with Vince and Roman Reigns. And you know, going back to earlier, you can have Vince come out and talk about how Triple H did not have the right vision. Roman Reigns is the guy that should be a star, but Triple H doesn't know what he's doing. Triple H hires these slobs like Kevin Owens and these skinny little vanilla midgets like Sami Zayn. That is what Vince should say in his promo, and you get the fans excited for Triple H and the NXT guys to come in and take out Vince, Roman Reigns, and the rest of Vince's crew. And we all know Triple H loves NXT, and he likes getting the praise and the recognition for NXT. I mean, that's why he appeared on that NXT London show right after he was attacked by Roman Reigns and was supposed to be selling that beating. So that's how much Triple H is invested in NXT. So why not just make this part of the storyline? Why not go with it and make for some entertaining television? So I do see that happening, but it makes no sense if Triple H and Stephanie are heels bringing in the NXT guys. That's just ass backwards. Alright, so that'll wrap it up for this edition of NoDQ&A video. I had a lot to say today. I will have more to say with Jeff Meacham, and I'll get his thoughts on some of these possible outcomes for WrestleMania. We'll talk about predictions, what we think should happen. Stay tuned to the NoDQ channel. I will have more NoDQ&A video later this week. And stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest regarding WrestleMania. I will see you guys next time.